is a blessing that our journeys have all intersected at this point to be with each other, for each other during this Lent. And as we come together to fast through the Great Lent, we have an obligation to remember the suffering of the Palestinian people, because they don't have what you and I have. They don't have a state. The Palestinian people have had to undergo something virtually no one has had to go through, and that is being shrunk from a majority into a minority. We got shrunk into a demographic minority, and something like this hasn't happened to anyone else in the way that it has happened to us. As a young Palestinian Christian living in Australia, growing up here, going to school, I faced many challenges in regards to my identity. Many of my friends for years just assumed that I was Muslim, until a few awkward conversations about whether or not I was allowed to drink a beer came up between us. And I had to explain to them that, oh, well, I'm not a Muslim, I'm a Christian. And their response to me was, oh, well, I didn't realize there were Palestinian Christians. When did your family convert? To which I would respond, 2,000 years ago, buddy. That's when we came to follow the Messiah. And this Israel-Palestine conflict in the mainstream media was sold to the Australian public as a conflict between Judaism and Islam, which is frustrating to say the least, because that's the least is what it's actually about. You know, I often found myself explaining to friends and anyone that had an interest in my ethnicity that Palestinian Christians exist too. And the more conversations I had, the more I started to realize how unique my identity actually is. The more I learned about our history, the more I started to value the traditions and the culture that had been passed down to me from generation to generation, all the way back from the time of Jesus. And the more I understood this, the more I valued my faith. It is something that I don't take for granted, and it's something that I want to share with fellow Palestinian Christians of my generation. Because I think one of the things that we reflect on is Lent is the amount of spiritual apathy that exists in today's society, especially within my generation and the generations that are beyond mine. And with this spiritual apathy, there is a lack of concern about what is happening outside our social sphere. You know, places like Nazareth and Bethlehem weren't just the backdrop of the grand story of the Bible. They were literally the places that my grandparents lived. So to me, the connection that I have with all Palestinians and to the land is something that is very important. And I believe that as a Christian that comes from such a background, it is a duty almost to provide continuity to our culture and to our faith. It is a great inheritance, I believe, that we have been given, being descendants of the first Christians. And coming to learn more about my faith and going to church and engaging with different groups, it provides a sense of peace, and also a wholesome feeling that we're not just connected through our ethnicity, but we're connected to other Christians through our faith as well. So in saying that, the more that I come to appreciate the culture and traditions, the more my faith strengthens to me. And it's something that I've been reflecting more so upon during the Lenten season. The Lent season also encourages us to be charitable and give to those that do not have the same things that we do, that are less fortunate. And I believe that is very true in the case of giving back to the land and helping the people that are on the land find their way. It's quite a blessing to be a Palestinian Christian, to have this unique identity. So, and it's very good that we've come together to form this organization that we have, and to connect with other organizations that share the same goals and want to spread the same awareness. So we're not just, we have a unique, so this is quite a unique topic. We are a unique people with a unique history, and we face a unique problem. And the problem that we face didn't just occur in the past and sorted itself out. It is ongoing today. And therefore, I believe as Palestinian Christians, we believe in peace, and we have an obligation to talk this issue up, to let everyone know what our story is, and what our suffering is. Palestinian Christians, in the eyes of many other people from different Christian communities, they believe that we're discriminated against by Palestinian Muslims, which isn't the case at all. The reason why our numbers have dropped significantly is because of the pressures that Zionism has enacted onto us. The net result of the impact that the implementation of Zionism has had to over 490 Palestinian villages is not just something which has happened to Palestinian Christians, but to Palestinian Muslims as well. And I think it's very, very important to shed light on the root cause of why that has happened. And the root cause of why that has happened is the necessity to create a Jewish demographic majority in order to create a Jewish state. You cannot have a democratic state where everybody gets a vote, where you're less than 51% of the population. And so in the time at the Balfour Declaration, and even at the beginning of Zionism, the population ratios between Jews and non-Jews was 8% Jewish and 92% non-Jewish. And therefore, the early Zionists knew that they had to reverse these ratios in order to establish a Jewish state. And everything else, from the checkpoints to the population transfers to the destruction of villages, is a micro symptom of the root cause. And that is the point that we need to make whenever this conflict is discussed, because there is no argument against that. No Jewish person that's a Zionist could argue against that point, because it's just a matter of fact. You cannot have a Jewish state without a Jewish demographic majority. So I believe as Christians, we must connect with our communities. Like myself, as a Melkite Catholic, I've been attending groups from my Roman Catholic counterparts, going to their services, engaging with their youth groups, and sharing the Palestinian stories, because I'm in a unique position to engage with them and tell them our story. And I believe Palestinian Christians from all denominations, I encourage them to do the same within their respective communities. So to sum this up, the Israeli-Palestinian conflict is the only conflict where the non-existent country has been demanded to recognize the right of the existing country to exist. It's like an alive person asking a dead person to recognize his right to live, and most people are clueless on that fact. The thing that we need to be asking people that are Zionists, openly Zionist, is, was it reasonable to expect a non-Jewish demographic majority to accept to be shrunk into a minority and subjugated as a minority as a result of trying to create their state? Was it reasonable? And no conscious person would be able to tell you that it was. So during this Lenten season, I'd like to reflect, I'd encourage you all to reflect on the injustice that has happened in the past, which is still ongoing today. And I encourage you to reach out to our broader Christian family, whether it's attending different parishes, different youth groups, connecting with people and explaining to them what the situation is in the Holy Land. So thank you very much for your time and attention. It is most appreciated.